My name is Olivia Parker. I am 27 years old. I have spent the last few years learning how to hold myself together with quiet grace, while the world around me shifted in ways I never expected. Living in our peaceful lakeside community near Madison, Wisconsin, I thought we had built something solid. My days revolved around my work as a financial compliance analyst at a regional bank tracking patterns that others missed, and coming home to my young daughter, Emma. She was 6 now, full of questions and drawings that covered our refrigerator. I believed my husband and I were partners in this life, even through the harder seasons. That illusion began to crack on an ordinary Tuesday afternoon. I had just finished a long morning reviewing loan portfolios when I received a message from my best friend. She and I had been close since college, the kind of friendship where you drop everything for late-night talks and shared secrets. Her text asked me to meet her at a quiet coffee shop downtown, saying it was urgent, but nothing to worry about. I arranged for Emma to stay a bit longer with the after-school program and drove over my mind, already turning toward what small favor she might need. When I walked into the cozy cafe with its soft lighting and the scent of fresh espresso, my best friend was already there, sitting across from my husband. The two of them looked up as I approached, their expressions a mix of determination and something I could not quite read. I slid into the booth, offering a small smile, trying to ignore the uneasy flutter in my chest. "Olivia." My husband started his voice low and measured the way he spoke when he had already decided something. "We need to talk about the future. My best friend and I have been going over our options, and things have to change." I blinked, glancing between them. My best friend reached across the table and touched my hand gently, but her eyes held a steadiness that felt rehearsed. She explained that my husband's startup consulting venture had hit another rough patch. They had been meeting privately for weeks, she said, because she wanted to help as a friend. The business needed a significant cash infusion to keep afloat, and they had identified a clear path. My savings, built carefully from my steady paycheck, were the most reliable source. They wanted me to transfer a large portion immediately, framing it as an investment in our shared family stability. The words landed heavily. I sat there, the warmth of the coffee cup forgotten in my hands, feeling the first sting of vulnerability wash over me. This was not a casual ask. My husband's tone carried an edge of ultimatum. He reminded me of the life we had promised each other, how my cautious nature had always held us back from bigger opportunities. My best friend nodded along, adding that, as my closest friend, she could see how much I held onto control. And sometimes love meant letting go of old fears. They had already drafted a simple agreement on her laptop, ready for my signature. I felt my throat tighten. Emma's face flashed in my mind, her laughter from our recent lakeside walks, the way she still reached for my hand when crossing streets. "This is a lot to take in," I said softly, my voice barely above a whisper. "Can we talk about this at home first? I need time to understand what this means for all of us." My husband leaned forward, his expression hardening, just enough to make my stomach drop. "Time is exactly what we don't have, Olivia. If you truly cared about our family's future, you wouldn't hesitate. My best friend sees it too. You've always been the careful one, but we're past that now." His words carried a quiet dismissal that cut deeper than any shout could. My best friend murmured agreement, her hand still on mine, but it felt like a tether pulling me toward their vision rather than support. I left the cafe that afternoon, with my hands trembling on the steering wheel, the drive back to our quiet neighborhood, blurring through unexpected tears. The lakeside homes passed by in familiar shades of gray and white, their windows glowing warmly against the early evening chill. Yet I felt profoundly alone. How long had they been planning this without me? The thought settled like a weight in my chest. The next few days passed in a haze of emotional vulnerability. I tried to maintain normalcy for Emma, reading her bedtime stories with a steady voice, while my mind replayed the cafe conversation. My husband came home later than usual, his conversations with me clipped and focused on the urgency of the transfer. My best friend texted daily gentle reminders, wrapped in concern, painting pictures of the brighter life we could build together, if I just trusted them. Then came the workplace ripple. One of my colleagues, Ryan Thompson, a trusted senior analyst who had mentored me through several complex audits, pulled me aside during a break. He looked uncomfortable, lowering his voice in the break room. Olivia, there are rumors circulating. Something about personal financial strain affecting your focus here. I don't believe it, but you know how fast these things spread in our department. My heart sank. I'd mentioned nothing at work, yet the timing aligned too closely with my husband and my best friend's pressure. I thanked Ryan quietly, appreciating his discretion. But the seed of doubt about how far this entanglement reached began to grow. A week later, I discovered the hidden documents. While organizing some files on our shared home computer for Emma's school forms, I stumbled across email threads between my husband and my best friend. They went back months. Conversations about my savings accounts, my conservative investment strategies, and how my risk aversion was limiting their plans. One line from my husband stood out sent late at night. My best friend had replied with encouragement, positioning herself as the understanding bridge. The betrayal felt like a slow unraveling. My best friend and my husband, the two people I had leaned on most, had been coordinating behind my back, viewing my stability as a resource to tap. Tears came easily that night as I sat on the edge of our bed after Emma was asleep, the quiet of the lakeside house pressing in. I felt exposed, my vulnerability raw and aching. Yet beneath it, a calm resolve began to form even as I questioned everything I thought I knew about trust. The discovery of those emails left me sitting in the soft glow of our living room lamp for what felt like hours, the gentle lapping of the lake against the nearby shore, the only sound breaking the heavy silence. I wiped at my eyes repeatedly, feeling the weight of every shared laugh with my best friend, and every quiet evening with my husband pressing down on me. How had I missed the signs? The vulnerability I felt was overwhelming, a quiet ache that made even simple tasks, like preparing breakfast for Emma, feel fragile. The following morning, my husband approached me in the kitchen while Emma was still upstairs getting ready. He set his coffee mug down with a deliberate clink, his posture straight and expectant. "Olivia, I know you saw the messages. My best friend told me you might have. This doesn't have to be dramatic. We're a team, and teams make sacrifices." His words carried that same measured tone from the cafe, but now it felt laced with impatience, as if my hesitation was the real problem. He reminded me of a supposed inheritance promise his side of the family had hinted at years ago, one that could stabilize everything if we just bridged the gap with my accounts now. It was framed so reasonably, yet it twisted something deep inside me. My best friend called later that afternoon, her voice soft and full of the familiar warmth that had always made me trust her. "I hate that you're hurting, Olivia, but my husband needs this support, and as your closest friend, I couldn't stand by and watch the opportunity slip away. Think of Emma's future, the stability we could give her." She suggested we all meet again this time at their favorite spot by the lake to talk it through openly. I agreed, mostly because refusing felt like admitting the fracture was already too wide, and part of me still clung to the hope that this was all a misunderstanding born from stress. At the lakeside bench that evening, with the sun dipping low and casting long shadows over the water, the conversation deepened. My husband laid out more details, explaining how his consulting work had potential investors lined up, but they required proof of personal commitment. My best friend sat beside him, nodding supportively occasionally, adding how she had quietly reviewed some of my financial summaries to help build a stronger case. The pressure mounted as they both emphasized that delaying could mean losing everything they had worked toward. I felt tears welling up again, my voice catching as I shared how blindsided I was, how their coordination without me made me question not just the money, but our entire foundation. "I love you both," I said quietly, "but this feels like I'm being asked to risk my security for something I wasn't part of building." My husband's response was calm, but firm. his hand resting on the bench near mine without quite touching it. Love means trusting the bigger picture, Olivia. If you pull back now, you're choosing fear over us. My best friend echoed the sentiment gently, her eyes meeting mine with what looked like genuine concern, yet it only amplified the emotional vulnerability swirling inside me. The meeting ended without resolution, leaving me walking back to the car alone, while they lingered their voices low in discussion. Work became another layer of strain. The rumors Ryan Thompson had mentioned grew louder. During a team meeting the next day, another colleague, Lisa Chen, who handled compliance reviews alongside me, gave me a sympathetic look across the conference table, but later pulled me aside in the hallway. Olivia, people are saying there's personal drama affecting your attention to detail on the latest audits. I defended you, but you know how quickly these things can impact perceptions here. Her words stung a fresh wave of unease, washing over me as I realized how deeply the private pressure was seeping into my professional life. I thanked her for her support, my voice steady despite the knot in my chest. But inside, I felt the foundations shifting. That weekend, I tried to create normalcy for Emma with a quiet picnic by the lake near our home. She chattered happily about school friends while I listened, forcing smiles and pushing down the growing tension. My husband joined us briefly, but his demeanor was distant, checking his phone often and steering conversations back toward the financial needs. My best friend stopped by unannounced in the afternoon, bringing a small gift for Emma and sitting with me on the porch as the sun warmed the wooden planks. "I'm here for you," she said, her tone vulnerable in a way that mirrored my own feelings. Yet when she casually mentioned reviewing more documents with my husband, the betrayal cut anew. The hidden truth began to surface more clearly a few days later. While searching for an old insurance policy in our home office, I found additional correspondence, including messages where my best friend had helped my husband draft the inheritance promise angle, knowing it wasn't fully guaranteed, but believing it would persuade me. My mother-in-law even appeared in one chain, offering cautious encouragement, but staying on the sidelines. The realization that this web extended further left me emotionally drained, sitting on the floor, surrounded by papers, as quiet tears fell. I felt resilient in small ways, continuing my work and caring for Emma, but the vulnerability was constant, like a bruise that wouldn't fade. Pressure escalated when my husband presented a more formal proposal one evening after dinner. He and my best friend had prepared a detailed outline, complete with projected returns and timelines. "This is our chance," he said, his voice carrying quiet authority. My best friend agrees it's the responsible step. I listened, my heart heavy, expressing my fears about the risks to our family's security, especially with Emma so young. Their combined insistence made the conversation feel like an emotional ultimatum, leaving me retreating to the bedroom afterward, reflecting on how love had become so conditional. Then came the workplace escalation that shifted everything. Ryan Thompson approached me again this time with more concern. "Olivia, the rumors have reached management. They're asking questions about your stability on high-profile files." The timing aligned perfectly with my husband's latest push, making me wonder how much influence had spread. I handled the conversation with calm resilience, assuring him of my focus, but the lingering tension followed me home. One evening, as I reviewed my own financial records late at night, another discovery hit. My husband had already initiated small transfers from a joint account we maintained, using details my best friend had helped access under the guise of family planning. The betrayal deepened, leaving me staring at the screen with a mix of sorrow and quiet determination. I needed to protect what I had built, not just for myself, but for Emma's future. Yet confronting them felt daunting, the emotional stakes so high. As the days blurred, the unresolved tension hung in the air of our lakeside home like a gathering storm. I found myself confiding fragments to Lisa Chen during a private lunch break. Her steady presence, offering a small anchor of support amid the chaos. But the biggest revelation was still unfolding, one that would force everything into the open. The weight of those small unauthorized transfers sat with me through another restless night. The distant call of loons on the lake filtering through the open window as I lay awake beside a husband who now felt like a stranger. The next morning, I moved with deliberate calm, dropping Emma at school, and then driving to a small electronics store on the edge of town. I purchased a set of discrete indoor cameras and installed them carefully in the living room and a home office, while my husband was out meeting with my best friend. It was not suspicion alone that drove me, but a deep need to protect the fragile peace I was trying to hold for my daughter. That evening, as the three of us gathered once more at the lakeside bench, the air thick with unspoken expectations, my husband pressed again. "Olivia, the investors are waiting. My best friend has even reached out to a few on our behalf. This fake hesitation is hurting all of us." His voice remained steady, but the dismissal in it pierced my vulnerability like never before. My best friend sat closer hand, brushing my arm in what she likely meant as comfort. "We love you, and we know you'll do what's right for the family." Their words wove together, creating a pressure that made my chest ache with the emotional toll of feeling so unseen. I listened, tears slipping silently down my cheeks, and for the first time voiced the depth of my hurt. This isn't about fear. It's about realizing the two people I trusted most have been planning around me instead of with me. The conversation stretched into the fading light, their responses circling back to the promised inheritance and the need for my contribution. I left them there by the water, walking home alone with the quiet resolve to review the camera footage later. The next afternoon at work, the rumors reached a peak. Lisa Chen found me in the copy room, her expression concerned. "Management called me in. They're questioning if personal issues are impacting your compliance reviews. Ryan and I both spoke up for you, but it's spreading fast." The secondary conflict of workplace whispers added another layer of exhaustion, making me feel exposed in every area of my life. I thanked her and Ryan for their support, my voice soft but steady, and returned to my desk, determined to keep performing with quiet resilience. That night, after Emma was tucked in with her favorite storybook, I reviewed the hidden camera footage from the home office. What played out confirmed the core secret I had feared. My husband and my best friend were there reviewing documents when my mother-in-law joined via video call. My mother-in-law's voice was clear on the recording. She had known about the coordinated plan for months, encouraging the fake inheritance promise as a way to secure the funds without raising my suspicions. "Olivia has always been cautious, but family comes first," she said. The betrayal from yet another corner left me sitting in the dark, tears flowing freely, as the emotional weight settled into a profound, quiet sadness. Even extended family had been part of the web. I did not confront them immediately. Instead, I spent the following days documenting everything with calm precision, consulting a trusted family attorney in Madison who helped me secure my individual accounts, and prepare an official complaint with our bank's internal compliance team about the unauthorized transfers. The process felt vulnerable and heavy, each step a reminder of the support I was losing, yet it also sparked a small, empowered sense of agency. The turning point came on a rainy Saturday. My husband and my best friend arrived at the house together, expecting to finalize the agreement. Emma was with a neighbor for a playdate, giving us space. As we sat in the living room, the tension palpable, I played the relevant camera footage on my tablet. Their faces shifted from confidence to shock as my mother-in-law's words filled the room. My husband's mother had known the entire scheme, advising them on how to frame the inheritance promise. My best friend looked away, her usual warmth cracking. "Olivia, this is taken out of context." My husband said, his voice losing some of its steadiness. I spoke from the depth of my vulnerability, my tone reflective, rather than accusatory. I trusted you both with my heart and my future. But boundaries are what I need now to protect Emma and myself. The conversation unfolded with tears and quiet admissions. My best friend expressed regret, but the damage was done. My husband argued that family support was vanishing because of my choices, yet I held firm. The official complaint I had filed earlier that week triggered an internal bank review, freezing the questionable transfers and creating irreversible professional distance. In the weeks that followed, the loss settled in quietly. My husband moved out temporarily, our shared life fracturing under the weight of broken trust. My best friend's calls grew less frequent, the friendship fading into awkward silence. Workplace rumors eventually quieted thanks to Ryan and Lisa's support. But the lingering tension remained an unresolved ache that reminded me daily of what had been lost. I secured my accounts, fully focusing on Emma's gentle routines by the lake, our walks now filled with her innocent questions and my steady presence. The family support I once relied on had vanished, leaving a hollow space. But in its place grew a quietly empowered freedom. I learned that boundaries protect your peace, even when they come at the cost of relationships you once held dear. The inheritance promise had been a manipulation, the coordination a betrayal that exposed how conditional the love had become. Yet choosing myself brought a reflective calm, a new chapter in our lakeside haven, where Emma and I built memories without the shadow of ulterior motives. The tension lingers on quiet evenings, a reminder of the pain, but it no longer defines me. I have found strength in vulnerability, in honoring what I need rather than what others demand. This path was not easy, filled with tears and doubt, but it led to a freedom that feels authentically mine. Thank you for listening to my story. Would you walk away from a situation like this to protect your peace, even if it meant losing close relationships?